Hello, and welcome to Khyber Shards, an actual play 5th edition show set in the Eberron campaign setting. I am the Dungeon Master, Philip.
And I'm Casey.
And this is another character and player introduction episode. By now, you've hopefully had the chance to watch our first couple of episodes and perhaps seen the introduction episodes for Eric and for Colin. This character introduction is going to focus on Casey and her character, Shade. So first, let's meet Casey. So, hi, Casey.
Hi, Philip.
So I have played lots and lots of RPGs with you, probably only with, I guess I played a lot with Eric, but I probably played more sessions with you and RA at this point, just because we've played a lot more consistently than me and Eric have played for the last few years. So
we have played very consistently.
We really have. It's awesome.
It is great.
So I have known you for most of your RPG career, or for all of your tabletop RPG career, but
yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that and about your background of RPGs, perhaps even before that, because I know you did some in video games and stuff.
I did. I am not great at video games. Hand-eye coordination is not my strength, and I didn't play a whole lot of games, even though my family enjoyed them. But when RA and I were dating, we often lived not in the same town. And so a way for us to connect, to spend time together, we started playing an MMORPG. My first one, I think it was called Dofus.
I think that's right.
I
remember being told this story, and I think that's right.
And it's not even Dofus anymore. It became several different iterations, but I played a blue-haired healing fairy.
Like a literal fairy?
Yeah, she was a fairy. She had wings.
That's awesome.
I think I've had green skin too.
Excellent.
And I absolutely loved it. My interest in playing healing fairies and then began. And then I didn't know much about tabletop RPGs. I knew that once RA and I found out that you played them, he was like, that would be cool. And I'm along for the ride if it means hanging out with my friends and playing games.
Yeah.
So yeah, you introduced us to Dungeons and Dragons and
that's only a fair turnaround because I didn't know what a real board game was until I met you and RA. Because our most elaborate board game before we met you guys was probably some iteration of Risk.
Good game.
Yeah, but a whole different world of board games was out there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we didn't know anything about like hobby games and stuff before we started playing games with you and RA. I guess pull back the curtain there in a little bit. Casey and RA and my wife and I play board games every week. We have a weekly game night and we play board games and RPGs together. So. And have for
it is a great tradition.
A long time. Yes, it is. It's weird. Like it messes up the week schedule when we go a while without doing it, like we did with the holiday break and that sort of thing.
The holidays. It was very strange.
Yeah, it was very weird. Anyway, So let's see. That was, I think what did we work out like 7 or 8 years ago now?
Yeah.
And so you've played quite a variety of tabletop RPGs since then.
Which is so funny because I feel like I'm still new at this. And in hindsight, I do have a lot of experience.
Yeah, and a fairly wide one because we've tried a lot of things. We have. Because we've played Pathfinder and 5th edition and Savage Worlds and The One Ring.
Maybe that's why I feel new.
Because we keep changing what we play. Yeah, we do. I do have a collecting problem as far as tabletop RPG rule sets. So
Clearly, we're enablers.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess it's a victimless crime. So what? I guess what is it you like about RPGs? There's a lot of people who get into RPGs for, the storyteller reasons or the acting reasons, or I mean, my wife is a very active RPG player, but she plays it because she likes hanging out with her friends and it's a fun social activity for her. So what is it that pulled you in? You came in just sort of along the ride to do something that RA thought was fun. What pulled you in and made you keep wanting to do it?
I definitely was pulled in because I love spending time with my friends. My extroverted self was any opportunity to spend time with friends is a good opportunity. And that's definitely still part of it. I really enjoy the time that I get to spend with my friends when we play, particularly role-playing games. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking about this recently, like what does continue to draw me into it? And I think that's a much more complicated
yeah.
answer than I initially thought. But part of it is definitely the building of empathy. I love being able to create characters and meet characters that have different experiences than my own, and trying to navigate and figure out how would this impact that person? How would they react because of these experiences? And just the whole concept of critical thinking and being emotionally intelligent is important to me. And I definitely didn't realize at the beginning of playing RPGs how much that's built into it.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, seems really obvious.
Sure, but I mean that's not. No one picks up Dungeons and Dragons and goes, "This is going to make me more emotionally empathetic." Like,
right.
It's like, right. Wait, I can play an elf? Like that's what it is. No one, but yeah, it is. It's absolutely that. I mean, you've gotten to play in a couple of games that I've run for my daughter, and I think we've seen how cool it is to see her work that out in a game. So, yeah, it's definitely a really awesome aspect of tabletop role playing.
I've really enjoyed that, and I've enjoyed getting inside of the head of other people to figure things out, and it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like playing Hobbit and cooking for people to convince them to give you information is fun.
Has nothing to do with the war dog that you get to run around with.
Okay, I was thinking of that. How many of my characters have animal companions?
Let's see, because you had a paladin that rode.
I had a paladin that rode a dog.
And
I did.
Now you have a hobbit that sometimes rides a dog,
but is never without her dog.
Never without, yeah. Who else did?
Oh, I guess I wasn't the other character that had animal companions, but I think that's an impressive example of self-discipline.
Yeah.
And another aspect of just fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to say that you have animal companions. I also, nerdy moment. I was talking about this the other day, and I don't even think I've told you this before. When I was in high school, it was a joke that I lived in my own world. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I actually developed some characteristics of my own little world.
And soon this is going to be an RPG setting that you're going to run a one-shot for our tabletop group in?
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
As long as everybody's nice and just does exactly what I expect them to do, then yes.
Well, from my experience, that is usually what happens, is the players do exactly what you expect them to do.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'd be so good at it. But in hindsight, a high schooler that has created their own little world, of course they're going to eventually end up in a D&D campaign.
Yeah, of course. Well, and I mean, we are grown adults with jobs, and we get to set aside some time to play make-believe. And
Right.
that's wonderful. There was one thing I wanted to ask, and I didn't warn you that I was going to ask this, but you and I are teachers, and we have gotten to do a little bit of role playing with our students occasionally, and I don't know. I just wanted to get some thoughts on that, because I think that's got to be a unique experience. But I think it's been valuable as educators to be able to use that skill.
As participants in a role-playing game, putting that on? Sorry, just specifying.
Oh, I mean, like, I think that the experience of role-playing and getting to use that with our students has been a valuable thing that we've gotten to do.
It's been spectacular, especially to see them not realize that they're playing a role-playing game, and how much they just put on their characters, the amount of research, the amount of willingness to wear costumes. I mean, what an incredible experience, and apparently valuable for them too. They beg us every year to make sure that we do it again.
Yeah.
And our role-playing experience does constantly come into that as we're sort of manipulating new rules for dice rolls so that we are getting a sincere outcome for their games. But I am constantly floored by how much they're getting out of that experience.
Yeah.
Just through ability to research and be empathetic and publicly speak and problem solve. It just, yeah, there's a lot in a game that really is just fun.
D&D hits all those levels of learning, man.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, wanted to move into Khyber Shards a little bit. So I was nervous asking you to do this, because I was really sure everyone else was going to say yes, and I wasn't 100% sure that you were. So why did you say yes? And I don't know, what are you excited for about this?
Well, that makes two of us that weren't 100% sure I would say yes. When you first asked, I was like, this could be fun, or this could be really stressful, or both. I'm not sure yet. And the first time I met Eric and Colin, when we first met to discuss the world, the game we want to play, the characters, I think at that point I hate to admit this to you, but still unsure. I think I had sort of put it out of my mind. That would be the deciding factor. And the pull for me was hanging out with my friends. But also, I enjoy trying new things. It's how I started playing D&D in the first place. I like trying new things. I like pushing myself outside of my comfort zone to see, can I grow in that way? Do I fall flat on my face? Which I think is very valuable in growing. But that first meeting was so much fun. There was obviously a lot of chemistry between the group. It wasn't like we were meeting Eric and Colin and for the very first time and it was super awkward. It was just everybody immediately was laughing and poking fun of each other, and just that environment was a lot of fun. And I thought, okay, if this is the people I'm playing with, I can do this. I am a very insecure person, and that's definitely a large part of my hesitance in the beginning, and maybe hesitance in still being recorded, but it's what better way to, push those insecurities or challenge them. And it was clearly a supportive group. It wasn't the people I'm playing with that I had to be worried about. It was just me.
I think I have been just in getting to know, partly through doing podcasts and things like that, and getting to know a lot of other people who play these games, and hearing stories about their group. All of them have these like horror stories of this thing that's gone terribly, terribly wrong in their group, and it just has just made me realize how absurdly lucky I have been in the groups that I have gamed with, because I mean, any group of people, there's occasionally tension or drama or that kind of thing, but I've just never had one. I don't have a horror story about things just falling apart entirely or something like that. And so yeah, I think that's,
oh, wow.
I think that's just the only reason I keep playing is because if you don't have a group that you like the people and you're enjoying spending time with the people, why would you want to do this?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's probably it too, is every time I've pushed myself in the role-playing games, in playing a character I was nervous to play, or, pushing in conflict was a big deal. It's always resulted in a lot of fun and a lot of great storytelling and a lot of really neat character moments. And it's a little addicting. Mm-hmm. Like once you get that little bit of insight and a little bit of, oh, these are real characters with real depth and have places to grow.
Yeah.
You want to help them grow more.
So with the campaign being so heavily influenced by X-Men, I have to ask, favorite X-Men character? I
was nervous that you would ask this question. I was going to say probably the least familiar with X-Men in the group, but I am definitely of the group the least familiar with X-Men. I don't think I've read any of the comic books, but I have seen all of the movies, mm-hmm. watched the cartoon growing up. And I know it's cliche. I understand that, but I do love Wolverine.
There's nothing wrong with loving Wolverine.
And I do like Beast. Mm-hmm. I think I enjoy the unexpected in characters, and it's, the interesting juxtaposition of the Beast intellectual, and with Wolverine, I love stories. A reluctant hero is a great archetype.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if either of those characters were in Eberron, probably both of them would be shifters.
It's so true.
So
I'm claiming them.
Yeah, there you go. So speaking of that, you decided to play a shifter ranger. What pulled you to that combination?
Well, as you know, Philip, there are a lot of possibilities. For those of you watching this at home, I am a verbal processor, and so poor Philip was definitely the receiving end of a lot of that. I had notes and possible combinations, and
because I hate talking about fantasy worlds, it's so tiresome to me.
It's true. You seemed super frustrated as you grabbed yet another book off the bookshelf. I definitely wanted a character that was rooted in a connection to nature. But I didn't want to play a druid with all those spells. I think it would be amazing to play a druid, but for something that I'm already pushing myself and a little bit nervous about having to sift through all those spells, I just didn't want y'all at home to have a lot of dead time as I just read my cards real quick. But I still wanted a character that was really tied to nature and lots of experiences in nature. And so that's how I ended up on a shifter and the ranger aspect. The ranger aspect of, just being outdoors all the time, able to take care of themselves, that independence and familiarity with nature. Mm-hmm. And then shifters have, according to my very own limited research, a lot of ties to nature,
Certainly,
right?
yeah.
They are. So, and it would be fun. I haven't played a shifter or a ranger before,
Yeah.
and so also wanted to push myself in that way of, as I get more familiar with the rules and the classes, and you do that by playing them.
Yeah, pretty much. So Shade. So let's talk a little bit about her. So tell us a little bit about Shade's background. Give us a little bit introduction to her.
Shade doesn't know much about her younger years. She was abandoned and found in the forest by a druidic tribe. And she doesn't really recall, not really, she has no idea how she ended up in the forest. All she knows is once the druidic tribe found her and then raised her, that's the childhood that she's familiar with. But she was 4 or 5 when they found her.
Mm-hmm.
And then once she developed her aberrant mark, she was immediately outcast. So, poor Shade has some abandonment issues.
Yeah.
That Soren just completely solidified all those fears in her.
Yes. Sorry.
I think it's great character. Like,
Yeah.
This immediately creates some, at least internal conflict for her.
Yeah, definitely.
In that it has proven all of her fears true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what do you do about that?
So what about Shade's mark? What was your inspiration in terms of what you decided to do with her mark?
I really try to get into a character's head. I don't try to fill in all of the details about them, but I do try to come up with some main ideas or adjectives that I would tie to her that help me guide my decisions. I find it overwhelming if I try to figure out everything.
Mm-hmm.
As a control freak, I will try to do that and then need to back off. But she is what I decided was feral.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted the mark to reflect who she was, just her survivalist. And so looking over what the mark possibilities could do, there were these interesting ideas of pushing and pulling away, which I think she does. Well, if I think she does it, then I get to decide she does it. Which is what she emotionally does. Mm-hmm. And as my English teacher nerd side, having an emotional, a physical reaction for an emotional, all those metaphorical depths, I really wanted to do that.
Awesome.
But having that emotional pushing and pulling away also being a survivalist instinct. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how you survive, is by catching your prey and by pushing away the predators. And so the mark being not only a physical outpouring of her emotional state, but also being the cause of her survival, I thought could add some really complicated feelings and depth to how she felt about the mark.
Mm-hmm. So how is it that, you kind of talked about this in the character introduction. Why does Shade decide to join the Blackwheel program?
Well, it wasn't a choice.
Not a real one anyway, I guess.
So,
yeah.
Right. That was, it's not something she believes in or really wants to be a part of, or ever wanted to be a part of. Society sort of scares her. So not only the whole you're going to go fight in a war part, but also you're going to be stuck in a building and in a room with a bunch of other people. No, thank you. But it was either like a bunch of other people in which they trained you to fight, or a bunch of other people in which you're just sitting in a cell. So
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
more opportunities to run away in a training ground.
So what do you think Shade's, and I guess to a certain degree yours, we obviously haven't had a lot of time for character interaction yet, but what do you think are Shade's sort of preliminary impressions of her group? Who is she? Who do you think she's drawn to the degree that she's drawn to anyone? I know you've sort of pushed this idea that she's kind of got things at arm's reach, but to the degree that she would like to let someone closer, who is it, and who do you think is she most likely to butt heads with?
Well, that's an interesting point. I have emphasized her willingness to push people away, or her instinct to do that. But I also think because of her abandonment issues, I think she just craves a community. And the only outcast situation that she remembers, she doesn't know what happened when she was 4 or 5, but she knows what happened with her adopted family. It was her mark. And so this opportunity to be with people who can't reject her for that gives her some investment in this group and some glimmer of a hope of having a community, of having somewhere to belong. Saying that, Esri, she is intrigued by his clear tie to nature. She values that. She wants that. And so she's very invested in and tied to, he seems to like nature. Nature, who Shade sort of sees nature as, Mother Nature personifies it. And so that he has a connection to her. She's excited about that. Her being nature, not Shade specifically. Sure. I think Ari is going to be someone that Shade is very, very drawn to. Her issues of being outcast, of being cast aside. His reaction when she messed up again and harmed him in the training, that's all right, resonated with her very deeply. That, just having a mark has been, horrific for other people, much less using it on them. And he just was supportive rather than upset. I think she's going to appreciate that. And I think she'll, question its sincerity, but it's still nice to have. I think Wog is probably the one that she would have the most conflict with.
Okay, why?
And not conflict in like, I hate you, right, this is tearing the team apart, but Shade doesn't want to be seen. She wants to hide in the shadows. She wants to... Yeah, she doesn't want to be seen. And Wog wants nothing more than glory. and I just see this being like, oh no, please don't go out there. Please don't put us in this position. We're getting so much attention. And so I think she is going to want to appease him if this is her community and this is her family and she fears losing them. But I think that that's going to create some conflict, particularly internally. How do I not lose this family when they so much want to do things that I don't want to do?
All right, that makes sense. I think that's all of the questions I have for you for the moment. So thank you for doing this. And thanks for the invitation. My pleasure. And thank you all for watching. We hope you have enjoyed this. If you like what you see, you can check out plenty of other videos on our YouTube channel. If you found this first and don't know what we're talking about, there are also game episodes of Khyber Shards that feature people playing D&D, which hopefully you will find entertaining. And you can also check out Geek Pantheon stuff on Twitter and Instagram. We have a Patreon if you really like what you're seeing and want to help us improve on the technical side. Then you can support us there. They're at various tiers. If you'd like to interact with us more directly, we also have a Discord, which you can find a link to on our website, thegeekpantheon.com, and also on most of our social media. And probably, depending on what Eric does, because I don't do any of the posting stuff, probably also in the description below this video. I don't know, but you can see. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in. This has been Khyber Shards. I'm Philip. That's Casey, and we'll see you later.